The Adventures of Odysseus. By Geraldine Mccaughrean, illustrated by Tony Ross. The war was over at last. At last, after 10 long years, the soldiers who had fought in it could sail home. Among them was Odysseus, king of Ithaca. He and his men rowed out to sea on their ship the Odyssey, leaving the battlefields far behind them. There was little room aboard for food and water, but some huge jugs of wine stood in the prow, taken from the defeated enemy. Unfortunately, the first time they tasted it, the men fell asleep over their oars. A bit too strong, decided Odysseus, watching them snore. Then a storm overtook them and blew them off course to an island, who knows where. Odysseus pointed up at a cliff. I'm sure those caves up there are inhabited. Let's climb up and ask for directions and a bite to eat. Leave your swords here, and bring a jug of wine, to show we're friendly. The first cave they came to was huge and smelled of cheese. But nobody was in. A fire burned in one corner. The soldiers sat down and waited. Soon there was a clatter of hoofs on the cliff path, as the island shepherd drove his flock home from the fields to the caves. And what sheep entered the cave? They were as big as cows, with fleeces like snowdrifts. But the shepherd made his sheep look tiny. He was as big as the wooden horse of Troy, and his hair hung down like creepers. A single eye winked in the center of his forehead. He rolled a massive boulder across the cave mouth, then turned and saw his visitors. Supper, he roared, in delight. And picking up a man in each paw, he gobbled them down and spat out their belts and sandals. Sir! We came to you in peace. How dare you eat my men, cried Odysseus, more angry than afraid. I'm Polyphemus the Cyclops, said the one-eyed giant. I eat who I want. Who are you? I am called no one, and I demand that you let us go. Why ever did I bring a present to a man like you? Present? Where? Give it! I won't eat you if you give me a present. Odysseus pointed out the jug of wine. Polyphemus chewed off the seal and gulped down the wine. He smacked his lips. Good stuff, no one. Good stuff. So you'll roll back the boulder and let us go? Oh, I wouldn't shay that, slurred the Cyclops, reeling about. What I meant to shay wash, I won't eat you, till morning. And hooting with drunken laughter, he crashed down on his back, fast asleep. 12 men pushed against the boulder, but they could not roll it aside. We're finished, Captain, they cried. But Odysseus was busy with the huge shepherd's crook sharpening the end to a point with his knife. The work took all night. Towards dawn, the sailors heated the point red-hot in the fire, lifted it to their shoulders, and charged. They plunged the crook into the Cyclops' one horrible eye. Polyphemus woke with a scream that brought his fellow giants running. Polyphemus, what's wrong? Is there someone in there with you? No one's in here with me, groaned Polyphemus. Are you hurt, then? No one has hurt me, bellowed Polyphemus. Good, good, said the giants outside, and plodded back to their caves. Perhaps he had a nightmare, they said. Polyphemus groped about blindly. Trickery won't save you, no one. You and your men shan't leave this cave alive. In the morning he rolled the boulder aside, so that his sheep could run out to the fields and feed. But he himself sat in the doorway, his hands spread to catch any Greek trying to escape. Quickly, Odysseus told his men to cling on under the huge, woolly sheep, and although Polyphemus stroked each fleece as it came by him, he did not feel the man hanging on underneath. So captain and crew escaped. But Odysseus called out as his ship sped past the cliff, Know this, Polyphemus. It was I, the hero Odysseus, who blinded you. Remember the name. the Cyclops picked up boulders and hurled them down, hoping to sink the little boat. Remember it? Know this, Odysseus. I am Polyphemus, son of Poseidon the sea god. And I call on my father to destroy you. Deep in the ocean, Poseidon heard his son's voice, and his angry storms drove the Odyssey even further off course to a beautiful island carpeted with flowers. A house stood at the top of the beach. The crew of the Odyssey ran up to it, and a woman welcomed them inside. But for some reason, Odysseus hung back. Only after the door was shut did he peep in at the window. The woman brought each sailor bread, honey, and wine. She carried a golden wand, and as she circled the table she rubbed it across their heads. One by one, the men began to change. Their faces grew whiskery, their noses flat. They dropped the bowls, for their hands were changing into bony hoofs. One by one they rolled out of their chairs, because pigs cannot easily sit up to table. Pigs! Circe the enchantress had turned them into pigs. Now she drove them out of the back door and into her sties, where many other pigs squealed miserably. Outside, Odysseus searched among the flowers at his feet. He stooped down to pick one particular tiny white flower, put it into his mouth, then went boldly up to the house. Come in. So happy to see you. Circe's voice was as sweet as her face. She brought Odysseus bread, honey, and wine. He ate the bread and honey and drank the wine. Then Circe came and stood behind him and rapped him with her golden wand. Now get to the sty with the rest of the pigs. Did you know, said Odysseus, calmly taking a tangle of petals out of his mouth, that this flower is proof against magic potions? Circe struck him again. But she saw that her charms were powerless. Odysseus, she said. She knew his name, that startled him. A fortune-teller once foretold that I would be out-tricked by one Odysseus, king of Ithaca. You are my fate. I lay my magic and my heart at your feet. Just turn those pigs back into men, said Odysseus. Circe ran and thrust her golden wand into each pig's pink ear, and in moments the yard was crowded with shivering men on hands and knees. Now will you love me? Circe begged. My wife, Penelope, is waiting for me at home, said Odysseus. But for 1 whole year he stayed on Circe's island. Then one day he went to Circe and said he must leave for home. It's such a dangerous voyage.